Of all the coat colors that cats can be, there's none that's quite captured humanity's imagination quite like black. Black cats have been part of human history for centuries, often tied to superstitions and folklore. So where did these superstitions come from? In ancient Egypt, cats were revered as sacred animals. They were often associated with the goddess Bastet, who represented home, fertility, and protection. As a cat-headed goddess, Bastet was thought to defend households from evil spirits, and owning a cat, especially a black one, was seen as a blessing. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was punishable by death. Egyptians believed that these animals carried divine energy. For centuries, black cats enjoyed this lofty status, but their fortunes shifted dramatically in Europe during the Middle Ages. By the time of the 13th century, Europe was experiencing social unrest and rampant superstition, and black cats became the targets of new, darker beliefs. So, how did black cats go from sacred companions of goddesses to symbols of witchcraft? Well, it all started with fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of misfortune, and fear of women who lived outside of societal norms. During the Middle Ages, especially as the plague ravaged Europe, people became increasingly suspicious of anything they couldn't explain. Cats, being nocturnal and independent, were seen as creatures of the night, mysterious, stealthy, and elusive. Black cats in particular, with their dark coats blending into the shadows, began to symbolize the unknown and the sinister. Then came the rise of witch hunts in Europe and colonial America. During this period, women who practiced healing arts or lived solitary lives were often accused of being witches. And guess who their so-called familiars were? Black cats. People believed that witches could communicate with these animals, using them as spies, or even shape-shifting into them to perform evil deeds under the cover of darkness. One of the strongest links between black cats and witches comes from a medieval belief that witches could transform into black cats at will. This allowed them to prowl the streets unseen, sneaking into homes or casting spells under the veil of night. Some stories went as far as to say that a black cat crossing your path meant that a witch was nearby, ready to bring misfortune your way. Let's not forget the impact of the Black Death on this myth, as the bubonic plague swept across Europe in the 14th century, killing millions. Cats, particularly black ones, were often blamed for spreading the disease. People associated them with witches, devils, and dark forces, thinking that cats carried the plague through their supposed connection with witches. Ironically, this led to a mass killing of cats, which may have worsened the problem, as fewer cats meant more rats. Who were the actual carriers of the plague? Despite their negative association in some parts of Europe, not all cultures viewed black cats in such a grim light. In many places, they continued to be symbols of good fortune. For instance, sailors believed black cats would bring them safe journeys and protect their ships from storms. And in countries like Japan and Scotland, black cats were still seen as harbingers of good luck and prosperity. In more modern times, black cats have slowly been busting the stigma that became attached to them. From movies like The Black Cat to famous felines like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, black cats have held a special place in pop culture. They're often portrayed as mysterious sidekicks or mischievous companions. But no matter the role, they're always captivating. Cat shelters and rescue have also played a pivotal role in breaking down the stereotypes of black cats, as well as some of the amazing people we've spoken to here at the Cat Chronicles. So let's take a look at some of the black cat stories we've featured.
Manny! We met Manny and I could just tell there was something special about him. He didn't even open his eyes when we came over. He'd even showed part of his belly and I was petting his belly and he was still asleep. And then he looks at me with these big, beautiful eyes and it was just, I melted and I knew he was the cat for us. One of the things that I personally advocate for is that they are more than Halloween cats. Like, despite that he has Manny the Halloween cat in his name, black cats are way more than just Halloween cats. They are not to be adopted and then ditched after the holiday. They are just amazing companions.
He's just the friendliest cat I've ever had. He really loves people. He'll like run up to them and like sit right in front of them and be like, pay attention to me, pet me. And people are like, what is this cat doing? And it's like, he's just so engaging, and he's so focused on these like kind of connections that I think a lot of people aren't used to with cats, or like you don't really see unless you get to know a cat really well. So I think he's like a good beginner cat for people who either aren't familiar with cats or like are afraid of them. He is so gentle. He's so kind. He's very patient with children. He's just a bringer of joy, and I love that about him.
The Museum of Osteology is America's only dedicated skeleton museum. We wanted an office pet, and so we went to our local shelter here and just kind of started cat shopping, and it was so hard because there's so many cats out there that needed homes. But Indy was so persistent. Like he definitely chose us. He's Chief Morale Officer. That would be Indy's title.
Running up a few trees and rocks. That's what she loves. The desert or in the canyons or in the forest or mountains. She doesn't have to go far to have an adventure.
So I got Bobby about 2 months ago from a local cat shelter. My mom sent me the post on Facebook that there is this shelter. They're looking for someone to adopt a black cat. And I read the description of Bobby and I fell in love. So Bobby is the most well-behaved cat. He's very loving. He loves everyone who comes through my door. He's very affectionate. And Chester is a bit more mischievous. He likes to get in a bit of trouble, but he's also very loving.
I work at an animal hospital, and my coworker's sister heard him in a field for a couple of days. She was trying to find this kitten. She could hear him, and then she found him, and she brought him to my coworker who rescues cats. She takes care of a feral cat colony. He really wasn't walking. We weren't sure what happened. We didn't know if he was abandoned or injured. I agreed to take him on as like a medical foster. I was going to find him a home, but I couldn't let him go. Now he's mine. He's very chill, very much a lap cat. Because of his lack of mobility, he just kind of sits where you put him. I take him to work. It's really nice to have him because clients like to see him. My coworkers love to give him love and treats and things like that. So I think he has a pretty good life.
So, whether you believe they bring good luck or bad, there's no denying that black cats have a rich, captivating history. From ancient Egypt to modern pop culture, these enigmatic creatures have left their paw prints on our hearts and imaginations. Next time you meet a black cat, remember, they may be mysterious, but they're just as lovable as any other kitty. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of black cats. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow feline fanatics.